Hello, Thunder Wizards. This is Mahadeva, the OG Thunder Wizard. All right, so we're going to be talking about the mirror dimension. We're going to be talking about how to avoid not getting. So I'm making my juice natural soda concoction here. I have this organic soda with honey and other herbs in it, and then I have my organic Pink Lady apple juice, and I'm going to mix them together and see if it tastes as good as I think it's going to taste. All right, so we are going to take a look at the mirror dimension. What is the mirror dimension? How does it work? Why do you need to know about it? Because right now we are living in a scenario where we are at risk. We are at risk of being trapped in one side of the mirror or the other. So how can we avoid that? So in the Maoshan tradition, you can go here to maoshan.thunderwizard.com. You can go up here to thunderwizard.com and click on Warrior 90 Day Lightning Qigong. Sorry, I'm a typical guy. I can't do two things at once. So if you go there, you will have access to the Maoshan tradition, which I am currently teaching here. The Maoshan University is going to be at the Warrior 90 Day Lightning Qigong. So the mirror dimension. When I first started training with my teachers 30 years ago, they started talking about having to face the mirror. Now, I didn't really know what that meant, but I've come to find out that, when you watch fantasy movies or sometimes horror movies, people get trapped in the mirror. You ever seen that? Where like they'll be looking at themselves in a mirror and then the mirror image will pull them in and then they'll switch places and then the other doppelganger will laugh maniacally and run away as the other person is up against the mirror saying, "Let me out, let me out." That's because this is a very real thing. That there is a spiritual dimension and a physical dimension. And there are mirrors within mirrors in terms of perception. So right now, in the world, we are fighting a war of perception. And it has gotten to such a sophisticated level. The war of perception has gotten to such a sophisticated level that normally people who are educated, critical thinkers are being trapped in one side of the mirror or the other. And if we want to look at this from a spiritual perspective, if we want to get out of the, stay away from politics and other things that you're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. If we talk about it from a spiritual perspective, then we can look at it in terms of different mythologies. So in my ethnic background, the Norse, there is a being called Fenris. Fenris is a wolf. And this is a wolf who has so much power and so much hunger that his jaws are big enough to swallow the entire universe. And so this is Ragnarok. And let me just be clear. I take no pleasure in this. I don't think this is interesting, cute, or fun. There is no rush of endorphins as I indulge in any of this. But the truth of the matter is that Ragnarok is here now. And Fenris is seeking to swallow the entire earth. By that, what I mean is that Fenris is seeking to swallow the awareness of all humans on the planet. And if you are not able to differentiate between the two false reflections that are being created from this. The pressure of Fenris as he comes in with his jaws open, the gaping black hole of his jaws as they open to swallow the world. The pressure of that, that annihilation. So Fenris is annihilation of everything. Complete annihilation of everything that you think you know. Everything that you think you know about society, about human consciousness, about politics, about ecosystems, about just being a human. Everything associated with that is in the process of being annihilated, completely and utterly annihilated. And it's happening first on a spiritual level of perception. So this pressure, as Fenris opens his jaw and starts to consume human perception, that pressure forces people to bounce back and forth in between different reflections of the mirror. And so this is why you have people who are so polarized now. Whether it's about politics, whether it's about current health issues, there is a polarization, and each side is absolutely, if you are on one, depending on which side you're on, it doesn't matter. You look at the person on the other side and you look in their eyes and you see their eyes glazed over. They don't hear a word you're saying. Doesn't matter which side you're on. It's because both of these sides are a false reflection. And it's the psyche beginning to, the collective unconscious is beginning to fracture. There's never been a time in the history of the world, never in the history of the world has there ever been a time where people have been so polarized about everything. Politics, religion, science, medicine, spirituality. I mean, people's families are being torn to pieces. You know, some of you may experience this where you're not allowed to go visit your family because of personal choices that you've made. You are looked upon as being dirty. You're looked upon as being toxic, like physically toxic. Like you're told, I can't have you around me. You are toxic to my health. This is the fracturing of the unconscious mind of the world, and it's showing up in people's families. It's showing up in politics. It's showing up in spirituality. This is Fenris. Fenris is gobbling up everything having to do with humanity, and it's on every single level. Physical, emotional, political, scientific, and spiritual. And so and many people aren't aware of it, because when you are facing that level of annihilation, people understandably can't tolerate that thought. The thought of annihilation is completely intolerable to the human psyche. And so people retreat into their own denials. And that's why you have people on both sides of these issues. Doesn't matter which side you're on, you try and talk to them, you can see their eyes are glazed over and they can't hear a word you're saying. So in order to avoid this, we must learn how to differentiate between the mirrors. So, one of the practices that I've learned is what's called the butterfly hands. So this was, when you look at this here, what I do is I teach the first 5 elements of the Maoshan spirit fighting, which is, in my experience, the most powerful energy practice on the planet. I only know what I've experienced. I've never experienced anything like that. But there are levels beyond that. Once you get past the 5 elements, you then get into 3 spirit fighting forms. These forms look like, I can show you the spirit fighting forms if you want. The spirit fighting forms look like Kung Fu, which in fact they are. Let's see, do I need to turn the sound off? No. They are in fact, in my experience, the most effective martial arts practice I've ever used. But what's happening here is what you see me doing here. What I'm doing is I am gaining energy from each of the 8 directions. If you notice, I'm always pivoting from one of the 8 directions into another. And I'm either, and you see there's no like Kung Fu kind of thing or karate thing where you take your body sideways towards somebody. You know, you're always facing, your third eye is in one of these 8 directions at all times. And what that does is when you do that in combination with movements that open up the heart center, which is, although you can't tell by looking at it, what I'm doing there with those moves is those moves are all stimulating meridians that go directly to the heart center where the lightning power of the body is stored. And now this energy, among other things, starts coming out the palms of the hands. So by dissecting this world, this 3-dimensional world, into these 8 doors, these 8 gates, these 8 directions, what ends up happening is that from the perspective of a disembodied spirit, a negative disembodied spirit, you look like you're disappearing and reappearing in multiple dimensions. So you're passing through multiple dimensions by doing this practice. And so when you get past the first 5 elements, you get to the next 3, which deal with the three forces of the world, which you hear about in Christianity, which is God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, which you hear about in just modern spirituality, mind, body, and spirit. In the Vedic tradition, it's Shiva, Brahma, and Vishnu. If it's the Norse perspective, it's Odin, Vili, and Ve. And so once you start working with those powers, then you start being able to dissect all of the mirrors, and you get to, and then you have the ability to pass through the dimensions. When you do that, your perception will be destroyed. That's my experience anyway. I can't speak for anybody else. I was taught a very specific version of this. The Grand Master who just recently passed away taught multiple versions of this. I don't know. I've talked to other people who've learned those others, but the one that I learned was specifically for fighting demons. And in order to do that, you must learn how to go between the worlds, and you must learn how to face the mirror. You must learn how to be within yourself, be able to face the mirror, the 2 mirror reflections that we always are going from one to the other. And there's a space in the middle where you see that everything is a multidimensional mirror. And this is where you get to learn the ability to see the underlying energy of everything. And so this is something that I've tried to do. I try to do it with everything. I'm not always successful. I've just recently had a huge, complete 180 shift, which has absolutely demolished and destroyed my view of the world. I'm currently going through some PTSD over it. My view of the world has been completely, totally, utterly demolished. And because I'm no longer trapped in the side of the mirror that I was in, when I follow my critical thinking, just logically follow the facts to the end, I realize that we are in Ragnarok right now. That Fenris is seeking to gobble up the world, including our perception of it. So, what I've just released now, if you go to thunderwizard.com, you go to the Warrior 90-Day Challenge, I've just released the second phase of the Hands of Creation, which is called also the butterfly hands or the mirror. There are multiple, that is almost as good as I was hoping. There are multiple incarnations of this, and this is the second phase of what I'm teaching. So bear in mind, what I've done is I've taken those spirit fighting forms that you saw me doing, and I've reversed engineered them to try and figure them out, try and figure out where the power comes from. And this is why now I'm dealing it out piece by piece, so that you can actually put the pieces together and have awareness. The butterfly hands, what they will do, hang on, whoops, that's what I want. Okay, so the butterfly hands, what they will do is they will give you the ability to slice through the different aspects of the mirror. All right, so I fast forward that because I'm not trying to teach you this. If you want to learn the whole thing, you have to go to thunderwizard.com. But I want you to see little pieces of it here. So let's see. I think this might be a faster form of it. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So let's see a little bit of that here. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I have to take a little breath and start over. Looking at the mirror was a little too frightening. Had to take a breath. So, all right. So you see what's happening right there. Look at my hands. So my hands are slicing through as I'm shifting my body posture. In order to, the legs and the hands start doing these things where they cross around each other. And what's happening is you're taking this unitary experience of your perception of reality and you're slicing it into little pieces. And then, like the butterfly, you're then going to split reality so that then you can see between the two mirrors. And in the full version of this, which I will teach later, you actually go in the mirror and then turn around and come back out. This one, I'm just opening up the mirror for you. So, just watching a little bit of that. You see what the hands are doing there? That's all I'm going to show you of that. I'll back up and you can look at that again. Because I know people are going to analyze this and break it down, and they're going to try and learn it without having to subscribe. So I'm not going to show you the whole thing. All right, so there, just begin to slice, turn things around, slice. Okay? So the whole idea of that is that it creates, the thing I love about this practice is that it is a meditative practice. It's really magic. If you want to talk about magic, the ability to manipulate reality, this is the most magical practice I've ever experienced. And you don't have to think about it. You don't have to meditate and try and find your true self and go beyond. You don't have to do all that. You don't have to do all that exercise and effort. It's like you're given a magical tool, and if you just follow the instructions and, literally just move your hands and your body in certain ways, it magically, it's like an incantation, exactly like an incantation. It's like a mathematical equation, A plus B equals C. You do things in a certain order, and you release all kinds of energy, and the universe starts opening up in really strange ways. And that's what I love about it. I don't have to do any thinking, but in order to get the perception that these exercises are seeking to bring, in order to get the perception that they are trying to create in you, you will personally, psychologically, and spiritually, emotionally, have to go through all of the shifts that will bring you the awareness. So there is a possibility you might lose your mind. This is why, in order to do this practice, you must have critical thinking. You must be able to ask yourself questions regarding critical thinking. So let's look at critical thinking again. So for those of you who are doing this, you must follow this path of critical thinking, or you may end up losing your mind. You'll get trapped in one of the sides of the mirror and you can turn into a Darth Vader. I've seen that happen myself with people playing around with this stuff here. All right, so let me see. I'm looking for, where's my critical thinking? There it is. Critical thinking, number 1. Everyone, including me, has unconscious emotional agendas. Your emotional agendas are nothing more than your need to preserve your life. And if you understand that human beings are not always rational, they have emotional attachments to things that they think keep them alive, and those things can be killing them. A good example is somebody who's addicted to opiates. Opiates hit the pleasure center of the brain. And the reason why people who have had traumatic childhoods are attracted to opiates, so good. They're attracted to opiates because opiates literally open up the love center of the brain. When you take opiates, you feel loved. There's nobody loving you. You're all by yourself, but you have the feeling that you're being loved. And that's what's so addictive. Somebody who hasn't been loved, that's going to be that they're going to take that and go, this is the thing I've been waiting for my whole life. And they become addicted to that. So what ends up happening is that, as I've shared with you before, the need to be loved, the instinct to find love is more powerful than the instinct to physically preserve your life. People, animals do this too. They will choose the feeling of being loved over their physical protection every time. So besides the fact that opiates are also very physically addictive, they're emotionally and spiritually addictive, because once you ingest them, then you have the feeling that you're loved, and you will die to pursue that feeling. So that don't discount that first critical thinking point there. Everyone, including me, has unconscious emotional agendas, which means that I will be emotionally driven towards a conclusion if I feel it is bringing me safety, even if it's not rational, even if it's killing me. So many people, I mean, this has been true throughout human existence, but especially right now, there are huge swaths of very educated, smart, evolved people who have an emotional agenda towards a certain narrative of their perception of reality that is killing them. And they can't see it, and they won't let go of it because they have an emotional agenda to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel protected, and they will die before they let go of that. That is how the human being works. And if you want to talk about the devil, if there is such a thing, the devil would be that force of you that says, seek love before your own physical safety. Because what does the devil do? He says, give me your soul, I'll give you fame. What is the main thing people give their souls over to the devil for? Fame, glory, money, which is power, the same thing. People who think they have money think they have power. And with power, they think I can control others, which means I can make you love me. Why do you think people want to be Tom Cruise? Why do you think people want to be Brad Pitt? Because they think, I mean, I can tell you why I would want to be that. Man, can you imagine all of that money and all of those women, all of that fame? I wouldn't have to worry about ever being rejected because I would be Brad Pitt and I would have any woman in the world I want. This is Sell your soul for that idea of control, which is about love, which is about survival. If there is a devil, that's what he's here to do. If we're talking about Loki, the actual trickster, then Loki says, I want you to become aware that things like power and fame are totally meaningless. So knowing that you are a human and that you are built to want that in your lowest form, what I'm going to do as Loki is I'm going to stimulate and I'm going to tempt you to go after that. All the while, I tell you at the same time, but if you do, it'll kill you. Do you still want it? And if you say yes, then Loki will say, then let's go. I will take you through that and I will give you all of that, and then I will destroy your perception. And then when your perception has been destroyed, when your perception has been completely destroyed, then you say to Loki, you say, okay, I don't want to be deceived anymore. And Loki says, that's awesome. Let's look at what's underneath the surface. And I'm telling you right now, there is a reality going on underneath everybody's nose that if you saw it for what it was, it would devastate you. I am currently in a state of devastation. Everything has been completely destroyed for me. There is no politics. There is no truth. It's been completely destroyed. But the good news is that when that happens, you no longer have an emotional agenda. I don't have an emotional agenda about anything. There's nothing that you would tell me that would surprise me. There's nothing that I need to know. There's nothing I need to believe anymore. So critical thinking, number one, everyone has, including me, has an unconscious emotional agenda directly associated with your need to feel loved, which will override your need to feel safe, physically safe. You will make yourself you will throw your physical safety out the window if you think it means that you will be loved and accepted. This is the truth of all humans. That's the first thing we need to understand. This is why that first thing, everyone, including me, has emotional agendas, is so important. If you know that, you won't be able to stop the fact that you have emotional agendas, but at least you might have the slightest bit of opening to go, oh, that's my emotional agenda. Oh, this is really frightening. Holy crap, I have to let go of that. That's not going to keep me safe anymore. Number two, are my emotional agendas hampering my ability to process information? I'm running into this as I'm talking with friends who are, running on one of the two narratives. The two narratives that are going on in the world right now are both misinformation. They are misdirections from the truth. It's classic magic. You're being misdirected. Depending on your emotional agenda, they can misdirect you with the liberal agenda, or they can misdirect you with the conservative agenda. Either one is a misdirection. And depending on where your emotional agendas lie, that's where they're going to misdirect you. So, are my emotional agendas hampering my ability to process information? I'm talking with people who are smart people, critical thinkers, educated, and yet when I bring to them the unavoidable conclusions that come from logical thinking, you can see the sparks fly and then they bounce back into their safely constructed perception. So their emotional agendas are hampering their ability to see the truth. I'm wearing them down slowly but surely, but they're having a hard time with it. And I myself am finding that as I go deeper into this, I want to forget. I'm wanting to just find something that will distract me because I don't want to think about it. It's just too frightening. Number three, then we ask the most important questions. When is something 100% true or false? Usually never. Number 4, when is something partially true or partially false? Usually always. In terms of information, because what people will do is they will come to you with a general blanket statement. This is how human beings work. This is how the intellect works. You have general blanket statements that are usually statements of 100% truth or false. The sun shines on the world. God is love. That kind of thing. Big, giant chunks of information which are given to you as assumptions. And you as a human will gobble that thing up as being 100% true or 100% false. But then you have to ask yourself, when is something partially true or partially false? Human beings are evil at their core. Well, yeah, that's partially true. Each one of us has in our navel center all the time a battle between murder and love. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. I want to date this girl, I want to break up with her. I want to marry her, I want to cheat on her. I want to eat healthy, I want to swim in a vat of ice cream. We go back and forth between these positive and negatives. This is why people who have mental illnesses, narcissists, borderlines, they can't tolerate having two opposing thoughts at the same time, which is what makes them actually go crazy. They can't tolerate it. They don't have the ability to have both feelings at once and tolerate it. Normal humans, we live all the time with opposing feelings. And we learn ways to deal with it. And we take actions. We're always having to make a choice between doing or not doing something. Right? So this is, in critical thinking, this is when is something partially true or partially false. Number 5, when is something sometimes true and sometimes false? Wow, my wife smells so good. Oh, except when she's been sleeping all night and she smells kind of skanky. Sometimes she smells great, other times she smells horrible. When is the information? So if I tell you that my wife smells good all the time, that's not going to be true all the time. At some point she's going to go to the bathroom and she's going to emit some nasty smells. So when is something sometimes true and sometimes false? Number 6, how do I feel about the information being given to me? Jesus died on the cross for your sins. If you accept Jesus, you will go to heaven. How do you feel about that information? Well, if you don't want to go to hell, if you have an emotional agenda and you have an unconscious assumption that the world is out to get you and that the world is run by an evil demon called Satan, then you are going to have a positive response to that. Accept Jesus and you'll go to heaven. If you grew up for example, in a religious household with a narcissistic, hyper-religious father who used to beat you and tell you Jesus is doing this for your own good, and then when somebody tells you accept Jesus and you'll go to heaven, your emotional response is going to be to hate that. So how do you feel about the information being given to you? Number 7, do I want this information to be true? Do I want this information to be false? Right now, we are being handed a narrative, which I can't talk about on this channel. We are being handed a narrative about your actual survival, your physical survival. How do you feel about that information? And does your feelings about that information, does that hamper your ability to take the most constructive action for yourself and for others? The people who survive, if we as humans are to survive this. This might be an extinction event. Let me be clear my feelings about this. This might very well be an extinction event. Except we're not going to have an extinction as a result of some meteor crashing to Earth. We will have done it to ourselves. So I don't know where we go with that. My brain just died on that. What was I talking about? How do you emotionally feel about the information that is being given to you? Do you want it to be true, or do you want it to be false? There are two the distraction narratives on both sides, the liberal and the conservative. Both of these narratives are distractions from what's really going on. But no, there are very few people that are actually seeing what's actually going on, because there's pressure on both sides. It's amazing to me. When I was on the other side of this narrative, I had people attacking me and calling, and you saw me get into flame wars with them on the channel. And now that I've completely flipped on the other side, the people that should be in my camp, but they're not. They're in one of the distractions of the narrative. They're attacking me, even though I'm pretty much on the same page with them. Because there's an emotional agenda to on both sides. People feel safe in one of these two mirror distraction narratives. And the most frightening place is to be right here in the middle. So in order to stay in the center where the actual truth is, we have to keep asking, how do I feel about this information? Do I want this information to be true, or do I want it to be false? Because you must want the truth regardless of what you know. I know what I want to be true, and that's not what's happening. And I want to stay here, as uncomfortable as it is. I want to stay in the truth. Okay? So, we can talk more about the mirror dimensions if you want. If you're new to this channel, this is a question and answer. The live stream, if you have a question, write the word question in all caps so I'll see it. If you have an honest feeling, you can write the word honest feeling. And whether or not you follow those instructions, I will let you know. I am an evil taskmaster. All right, let's see. Rivia Rackley, true feeling. Oh, well, yeah, I like honest feelings. I don't know if there's such a thing as a true feeling. There's an honest feeling. Let's see. I feel dumb not knowing how to start. What do you mean, how to start what? How to start what? In terms of the stuff I teach, go there. Go to Warrior 90-Day Challenge and subscribe. Go to the page where you have the members only videos. Scroll all the way to the bottom. There's the very beginning. If you want to go to the beginning of the Warrior 90 Day, you scroll to the first one where it says Warrior 90 Day Phase 1. Start there. Is that what you mean? Olivia Rackley, question. If someone got the rune associated with transfer of energy with the divine tattooed on their chest over the heart center, would it help using life force? It's just a symbol. It's just a tattoo. It doesn't mean anything. It does mean something. It means whatever you put into it. But, why not chant? I don't know which rune you're talking about. Are you talking about the Gebo rune? Why don't you chant the Gebo rune? Why don't you meditate on the Gebo rune? Tattooing it. Come on, you're smart enough to know that that's a symbol. That's a superficial symbol. If it might have energy if you put energy into it, but you don't need to tattoo it. It's not going to save you because you tattooed it on yourself. There are people walking around with runes that are, they have runes for Thor on their body, and yet they are racists. And by tattooing any of the Thor associated runes on their body, they're actually begging for Thor to come and discipline them. because Thor is the defender of all human beings. Thor is not racist. So you could be putting something on your body that's going to bring that, even though you're acting against it. Do you see any tattoos on me? Nope. Because I'm not so full of myself to think that I know what the Gebo rune really means on the deepest level. If for me, I can't speak for you, but for me, if I tattoo the Gebo rune on my body, it would mean that I would be asking the universe to teach me the deepest lessons associated with generosity. I mean, I don't know, that could stimulate me to have to give up all of my money. You don't know what you're playing around with there. Why are you looking for something external to fix you? Meditate on it. Chant it. Dakota Spruill question, do people with extreme cognitive dissonance start manifesting asymmetrical facial features or tics, almost like the two hemispheres of their brain are attempting to separate? This is called Bell's palsy. And while I'm not a doctor, and I can't tell you what the physical reasons for it is, I can imagine that there is a spiritual cause for Bell's palsy. In case you don't know what Bell's palsy is one half of your face goes completely paralyzed. Thundra Staves Rangel question, when using critical thinking, do you personally trust logic, your gut feeling, or a combination of both? Well, logic is an interesting one because I'm talking with, everything has a logic to it. It's a narrative. So A plus B equals C, right? No, but it sounds good. So logic, again, you can only be as logical as your ability to be emotionally neutral about your assumptions and the information and the assumptions that are being given to you. So I guess, I use logic, but for me, I have to be in a place where I'm neutral. I don't have an emotional agenda. And that's not something you can snap your fingers and make happen, because the whole nature of emotional agendas is that your emotions override your ability to see things objectively, because your emotions are attached to your survival. And so if you have an inaccurate assumption about what your survival is, you can't just choose to stop believing that. People can't stop choosing to believe that Jesus will save them. If they're highly emotionally invested in Jesus died on the cross for my sins, the thought of Jesus never existing is intolerable to them. Which is why by the way, the vast majority of people in the Middle East who are doing archaeological digs to find the birthplace of Jesus are Christians. You don't see non-Christian archaeologists looking for the birthplace of Jesus. You don't see non-Christian archaeologists looking for, where Moses slept, and because you can't find it because it didn't exist. It's a fable. None of it happened. But the people who believe in it, and they sense that it's a fable, but they need to believe that Jesus actually stood on the top of the Mount of Olives, that they need to believe that Jesus was hung in a certain place, on the cross. They need to believe that he rose from this tomb. They need to find that place, and then they build a church around it, and then they do archaeological digs, and they find anything, any shard of pottery, anything that has, by the way, the name Jesus at that time was like calling somebody John Smith. It was just, everybody was named Jesus, Yeshua. Everybody in Jewish society, every fourth person was named Yeshua. So they find a piece of pottery that says, Yeshua, I found it. So logic, do I personally trust my logic? I mean, I use my logic, but I have to be without agenda, which is a virtually impossible place to be. Do I trust my gut feeling or a combination of both? I don't have an answer to that question either. My gut My gut is telling me things I do not want to hear right now. I can't talk about it on this channel, but my gut is telling me things I don't want to hear. So I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want to trust my gut right now. But I don't have the exact, ratio of what to what. If I figure it out, I'll let you know. Thunderous Dave's Rangel question: if one of Loki's abilities is to travel between the realms, how can we connect with him to be able to have discernment considering what is going on currently? Well, that's really associated with Odin. Odin is the person who travels between the realms. Odin is strongly associated with the North and with Mercury. Mercury is the intellect. The intellect by itself keeps you trapped in dualistic thinking. But Odin breaks through the dualism. So, in fact, I've been thinking very strongly about sharing a very powerful Odin ritual, which I normally never share. But we need to. We need to do it. So I'm thinking about publicly sharing that, because Odin represents going beyond duality, but he uses the intellect to do it. So if there's anybody that you could sit down with who could talk you through true logic, it would be Odin. But he would destroy you in the process. You would be torn to pieces. The North is the realm of the undefinable energy that is coming into manifestation. If we were physically to go into the Niflheim or the mist world, we would come apart. We would be reduced to our, each little molecule. We would be separated into indefinite energy. So when the reason why Odin is the guide for the North is because he is the only being able to hold on to the integrity of his personality while simultaneously being torn to shreds. And this is the symbology of Odin dying to himself on the tree of life, where he says, I sacrificed myself, little s, to myself, big S. He died to himself. And as a result of that, he then saw the runes, the mysteries. He didn't see the runes and then break out into orgasmic bliss. It says, the runes appeared to him, and screaming, he took them up. It's there for a reason. The only Christian scripture that I look at with any integrity or with any interest is the Gospel of Thomas, which is the first gospel, the first and only gospel that was written. And then all the other gospels were written based on that. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, those were people taking that Gospel of Thomas and then creating a dualistic religion out of it. But the Gospel of Thomas is meant to destroy you. In fact, the first thing says, Jesus said, listen to this. It doesn't say, Jesus said, seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open to you. And then you hear the priest say, and that means prayer. And if you just pray to God and you just say, oh God, Christians actually pray exactly like this. God, I just ask that you just, you give us happiness and health. And, Lord, we just thank you. And so Jesus, Jesus never existed, by the way. But that first scripture isn't Jesus saying, seek and you shall find. He doesn't say that. He says, keep on seeking until you find. That means you keep looking. You keep examining. You keep testing yourself. You keep looking until you find. When you find, you will be disturbed. When you are disturbed, you will marvel and reign over all. That's the gospel. When you look at reality, it is going to fuck you up beyond repair. When you are being fucking torn to shreds, keep looking. Don't look away. Do not be distracted to one of the other two mirror dimensions. Keep looking until you find. When you find, it will fuck you up. And when you are fucked up beyond repair, you will marvel and reign over all. That is the message of Jesus. Still want to believe in Jesus? What else? Olivia Rackley question. Do you have a specific apprenticeship for Mao Shan stuff? I don't understand your question. That's what this is. This is the Mao Shan University. So instead of asking all these questions, go subscribe for a month and check it out, and then you'll know. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. What have you got to lose? About the cost of one coffee every other day. If you drink coffee, if you go to Starbucks coffee and you get a coffee every day, just don't drink a coffee for a month and make coffee at home and go subscribe. You don't need to keep asking all of these questions. Life is about experience. You want to know what it's like to be a ballet dancer? Go take a ballet class. I've made it available to you. Find out for yourself if it's something that you want to do. Is it part of general apprenticeship? Okay, so yeah, that's your question. Or is it part of general apprenticeship or all just found? Okay, so yeah, I know what you want. What you want me to do is you want to say, listen, I don't want to commit to all of this, but I want that one thing that you said. You said the Mao Shan thing, I want that thing. So first thing I want to say to you is drop the fear. Drop the need to figure it all out. People ask me about the Celestial Qigong. When I first introduced the Celestial Qigong, people said, I want to know exactly what spiritual gifts I'm going to get from doing this practice. And I said, how am I supposed to know? I have no idea what your karma is, what your dharma is. You do the practice and you'll find out. You have to do it to find out. So I invite you to find out. See, Green Skydiver says, honest feeling. Okay, Green Skydiver. You're annoying me. An honest feeling is, I am scared. I am happy. An honest feeling is, I truly think. That is not an honest feeling. Last warning. Do it again. Your history. I'm not even going to read the rest of it. It's not an honest feeling. You are trying to manipulate me into speaking your opinion. You want to speak your opinion? Go onto your own channel and make a video about it. An honest feeling is a feeling, not I believe something is true. That is a thought. That is an assumption. You are now telling us your assumption. You have now manipulated me to have you force feed your assumption down my throat and speak it to the whole world through my video. And I'm not going to do that. So we're going to remove that one. And you can go have your agenda somewhere else. It may be beautiful. It may mean something. Go make your own videos. Write your own books about it. Don't come onto my channel and teach. I want your honest feelings and your honest questions, and that's all I want from you. Legendary DJ, if you have a question, you see right below you, Olivia has written the word question in all caps, because when there's a lot of people, I'm not going to read anything that doesn't have honest question or honest feeling on it. So next time, do that so that the whole point is I don't want to miss your question. How can we know we have reached objective truth without seeing all points of view? I don't understand your question. Including what we don't hear of much till later on after we think we've reached a conclusion, the search never ends. So you just answered your own question. I just gave it to you in that first line of the Gospel of Thomas. Keep on seeking until you find. How do we know that we've reached objective truth? When you find, you will be disturbed. If you're not disturbed yet, you haven't found. Olivia Rackley question. Can you worship Odin and Hermes, Mercury on the same altar like you can Odin and Shiva? Well, why wouldn't you? Let's see, what else? Dakota Spruill question. I chanted Yuhwaj over a smoky quartz first 108 times, then 216, then other multiples 108 that night, and an incredibly bright light shone. What was that? How am I supposed to know? I don't know. I've never done what you just did. So I don't have any experience in that. If I were to guess, I think you already know. I think what you want me to do is tell you what you've already come to the conclusion of. So I'm going to let you have your own conclusion about that. It's pretty clear in that what your conclusion is. And since I haven't done that, I can only listen at your feet, because now you can teach. Here's a technique that I did, which made a bright light shine on me. I chanted Yuhwaj over a smoky quartz this many times and this many times. Since I haven't done that, you're now the teacher in that particular technique. Olivia Rackley question. Do you think Hecate and Morgaine are avatars of the same being? I don't know who they are. I don't teach Western magic. So I don't know. That's for you to figure out. Hel and Kali, are they the same being really though? That's the question. All right. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, he says hello. And if you go to his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com, oh, by the way, that just reminds me, somebody bought a lockdown package. I completely forgot to give them the link for that. I have to do that as soon as I get off the video here. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. He was somebody who did that. I believe he bought the lockdown package or something and became one of my certified astrologers. So if you go to his website, vincent.thunderwizard.com, you can get a reading from him, or you can go to astrology.thunderwizard.com and you can get a reading from any one of my certified astrologers, or from me for that matter. What else? Nothing else. I don't see any other questions here. So I think we are done right now. Thunder Staves Rangel had an honest feeling which got edited by YouTube because you said a bad word. So I just now approved it. She says, honest feeling, I'm scared shitless right now. You see, that's the difference, green skydiver, between an honest question and you shoving your opinion down my throat. An honest feeling is I'm scared shitless. Not, I honestly feel that quercetin is the best vitamin somebody can take. And I really want to say it on your channel and I really want to talk to you about it. So instead of doing that, I'm going to pretend that I have an honest feeling. Or maybe, green skydiver, you don't know the difference between an honest feeling and an opinion. In which, let me help you with that. The reason why our feelings are not facts. So when somebody says, I honestly feel that this is a fact, they don't understand. Feelings are not facts. They are simply emotional responses to stimulus. And you can have an emotional response to something that is just an intellectual concept, or it could be an actual fact. But in all seriousness, green skydiver, what I want to say to you with all the love I can muster is grow the fuck up. Having an honest feeling is, I really want this to be true and I'm scared out of my mind, or to stay in the feeling without having to make a conclusion, which is what you did. Now, your true feelings underneath that, I don't know. Why you have the need to tell me your feelings about religion, why you have the need to repeat it over and over with me, there's an underlying feeling which probably has nothing to do with religion, but has something to do with, I really want Daddy to love me. I really want my dad. And you, Mahadeva, you are up there talking like a teacher. You stimulate my unresolved feelings about my dad. And my dad and I always got into religious conversations. So I need now to tell you that my honest feeling is my views of religion. Grow the fuck up. Get back to just your feeling. You're afraid, you're angry. An honest feeling would be, I really hate you right now, Mahadeva. An honest feeling would be, I really wish that you'd let me talk to you. Those are honest feelings. Do me a favor, don't ever approach me again with trying to tell me your thoughts about religion. I really don't want to hear it. But I do want to hear your honest feelings and an honest question. If you think I know something you don't know, I want to hear that. The other stuff, go write your own books, make your own channel. I'm sure people will love it. I'm sure you have wonderful, beautiful, deep thoughts about all that stuff. What else? Anything else? A56 Lightning, honest feeling. I feel a lot of gratitude for your videos. They tend to very frequently give direction issues I'm dealing with in life. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, nothing else? All right, so I've done all the sales pitches I need to do. If you really want to hear my thoughts about what's really going on, because more of it's coming, and by the way, if you don't want to hear it, don't go listen to these videos. If you don't want to be scared out of your mind, don't go here. And that is to odySee.com and then search for thunderwizard.com. What just happened there? Thunderwizard, D-O-T-C-O-M. All right. Dakota Spruill, this is neither a question or he says, please keep streaming on YouTube. Well, I have to, because if I don't stream on YouTube, I won't make a living. There's just not enough traffic over on Odysee. But let me be clear, if I could, I would totally just drop this platform altogether. I can't stand the censorship. I mean, I can't stand it. But I have to do it in order to keep myself afloat, keep a business going. So I will. So I'll continue to keep coming on here, and I'll avoid all the naughty things. And as I said, I'll probably be speaking in code. Yeah, I'm going to stay here. And Dakota, why not just go to Odysee? Why are you only going to watch YouTube? Are you like not going to go watch Odysee? Why not go there? I mean, what have you got to lose? Okay, that's it for me. But I will stay here as long as I have to. All right, that's it for me, guys. Hope you're doing well. Stay safe and seek until you find. And I will be here to hold your shaking hand while you find the truth. I will be a source of at least a touchstone for you. You're not going crazy. I just want to tell everybody, you think you're going crazy? You're not going crazy. Things are what you think they are. That's what they are. All right. I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourselves. Let's see. We can end with this. Remember that resistance is not futile. Whoops.